Welcome to Logistics Business Conversations, where we talk with key spokespeople in the logistics industry about topical issues.
Hello, welcome once again to Logistics Business Conversations with me, Paul Hamblin, and today we are going to discuss that magical subject, fulfilment. And I'm joined by Russell Holmes, who is Sales Director in the UK for AutoStore, a very celebrated name within the industry. So we're delighted to have Russ with us here today. We're going to talk about not just fulfillment, but how to get higher throughput, which I think is what a lot of companies are really seeking. And Russ is going to take us through perhaps how we might do that. So Russ, first of all, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Paul. Pleasure to be here.
Good stuff. Let's start then with a couple of definitions.
Okay.
Fulfillment. We see that word a lot. What is fulfillment?
Well, fulfillment, I mean, it probably means a few things to different people, but in general, fulfillment, or successful fulfillment, let's say, is the ability to take a request from a customer or a business, B2B, B2C, transfer that information through your system, get the right object, SKU, whatever it is, pick it, pack it, transfer it in whatever means you're going to do to the end user over a set time period.
You're making it seem very easy, Russ.
With the right tools, it can be extremely efficient. With the wrong ones, the wrong setup, unprepared, it can be much more difficult. Hopefully, whatever platforms people are using, they're trying to focus on the most efficient means possible. And it's all about customer satisfaction, right? If you're doing it right, you're going to get the feedback and you're going to retain customers.
Okay. So AutoStore, just for anyone who doesn't know the name AutoStore, just give us a very brief potted history of the company.
Potted one, right, okay. AutoStore, wow, it came out of the Hatland Group originally, west coast of Norway, tiny village called Vats, still there, head offices are still there, it's a beautiful part of the world. It rains a lot, but it's fantastic. If you get a chance to go, recommend it.
Okay.
It was an electronics components distribution company. Ran out of space, ran out of money, effectively. Had to do something drastic. So AutoStore, the original idea, was born out of necessity for an in-house usage. So we solved our own problem. It was space usage. That's the whole install an AutoStore and you save 75% of your footprint. That's what it did. Over the next 7 years, we developed the algorithm that runs the robots on top of the grid, and it turned into the planner software that runs the bin transitions to the ports. And that's what people really understand what AutoStore was up to more recent history, where the software has been radically updated. We've gone from one site in 2005 up to nearly 1,950 sites as of today. So it's a heck of a growth over that time period. And the product has been updated over that time. The robots have transitioned from lead acid to LTO technology now, which allows them to run 24 hours with a fast charge. The port speeds have got a lot faster. And the software more recently has had a drastic update.
Let's come on to that, because I think that's going to be a key part of what you want to talk about today. We're going to talk about higher throughput. So let's have another definition. When we talk about higher throughput, what might that mean in terms of numbers?
High throughput, the definition AutoStore has actually given it is this 10,000 bin presentation or line presentations per hour across a site.
A line presentation is what?
So a line presentation could be a SKU in the facility, in the storage system, represents a line on an order. So if I have a facility that's running a 9-hour shift, they need 90,000 orders to go out, and each order maybe has one line on it. So it's an e-com operation, one line per order. Okay, those lines have to go to operators to be picked at a very fast pace. If we're on 9 hours and 90,000, that's 10,000 single line picks per hour. That's what we're talking about here. So it's 10,000 lines are brought to an operator, they're picked, packed, and out the door on an hourly basis. That's just one example. Another way of looking at high throughput would be maybe we have a batch effect where there's multiple items can be picked per presentation. Therefore, you still have 10,000 bins presented or lines presented, but I could effectively have 2 items picked per bin. That way I can go from 90,000 over my 9-hour period to 180,000 over my 9-hour period. That's really to do with the batch effect on bin presentations. But the bit here that's running it is the ability to get your SKUs or your items out of the system to the operators at that fast rate, and that's what high throughput's about.
I mean, it's astonishing numbers we're talking about. If we go back to the manual days of however many years that might be, I don't know, what, 20, 25 years further, the time that would be needed to process those sort of numbers, right? Several days against one day or something?
Yeah, I mean, you manual operations here. If you're walking around a warehouse, well, your operators obviously are walking miles sometimes to collect one order, and it can take minutes to do that. On average, you're probably looking at 90 to 110 per operator per hour if you're having to walk aisles. Whereas if you're bringing the items to the operator, you can go in excess of 500, 600 an hour per operator. So just that direct little comparison there, you're getting a 5x on efficiency.
That is efficiency, isn't
yes,
it?
Massive efficiency gain to do that. And by doing that as well, you're probably getting the operator to do something that's a bit more interesting. They're more involved, more engaged. They're not having to walk around. You don't have some of the effects of physical labour in those areas.
Sure. So let's move on to the different ways in which high throughput can be achieved. When we've spoken before, you've talked about the different. You might need to achieve higher throughput, for example, at a grocery store, against, for example, a large greenfield site.
Yes.
Can you talk us through that a bit?
Absolutely. I mean, this is where we get into the efficiency part of using your existing infrastructure. Now,
yes, because we're not just for the purposes of clarification. What we're saying is you're not going to bin one warehouse and start another elsewhere. You're going to realign existing processes, correct?
Absolutely. So if you compare a grocery store or a micro fulfillment centre or CFC, central fulfillment centre, but localised to a store, you probably find the footprint's a lot smaller and in a more brownfield style operation than a business that's running an e-com fashion business out of town on a 500,000 square foot brand new warehouse. They have a lot more space to play with. It's a different operation. But you've still got the problem here of trying to get as much out of these facilities as possible in a defined time. So a grocery operation with a much, much smaller space will still need to wave in excess of sometimes in the region of 4,000 lines per hour. That's quite difficult when you've got only a small area to play with. Typically those systems will still need space. So you need to be able to deploy an operation or some automation that can do that kind of throughput in a small area. Now this is where we get into high throughput is in theory this 10,000 lines an hour plus, but it's also having the ability to do it per square metre. So you're maximising the ability of the space you've actually got. What we do have is the densest system on the market per square foot, and then on top of that, the ability to get the highest throughput per square metre. That's super important when you're comparing a grocery application to something that is a greenfield. It has the effect on the greenfield as well. Maybe whatever system you deploy has the ability to make the greenfield operation smaller. Planning gets easier. Maybe there's more sites available that already exist. Maybe you can get closer to your end user because you can bring it closer.
And there's massive pressure on warehouse space, as we know.
Absolutely. You're not waiting for permissions to build something new, for one. Maybe you can get planning quicker. Maybe you can have a not as high a warehouse as well. You're doing it in a smaller area.
Yeah, so the reasons you might be seeking higher throughput aren't just because you want more numbers from more customers. It could also be because you have to do more with a smaller amount of space, maybe.
Absolutely. We've seen businesses, especially with the macro environment we had COVID hit. Everyone's e-com numbers jumped 10, 20%, 30% in some instances overnight. You're having to change your operation, so you need a lot of flexibility to do that, and also scale quickly to take advantage of these things. Well, these are opportunities as well as problems. If you go through that kind of growth, you're going to want to use your existing facility as much as possible before having to build something else. You won't have time to build something else for one. So if you can sweat your own asset and do something with your existing footprint, that will save you a heck of a lot of time and money in the long run, give you a better return on investment, ultimately set you up for better growth in the future. You're not having to move your staff for one either. So you're not upsetting your operations.
A lot of businesses will like the sound of what you're saying, but there will also be an element of, there's always, you've got to make the business case. There's nervousness around cost. And they fear making these changes because there can be risks. What are the risks, and how can AutoStore mitigate those?
So we touched on it a second ago. One of the risks in any kind of capital investment around managing the unknowns. And the unknowns really are what's going on in the wider world. It's sad what's happening in the world at the moment, to be quite honest. But it has effect on daily businesses. The fuel prices have gone up. They're likely to level at some point, but they're still going up. That will cause inflation. Prices will go up. Maybe money gets more expensive because the interest rates go up to counterbalance this. That can stop a project dead. Costs more to do. What are the implications? It slows things down. AutoStore in general, we do this through our account management system. We have people on the ground daily. Work with end users, and recommend anyone does this if you're going to look at any kind of project. We work with the end users to try and look through as many of these unknowns as possible. Now, a way of mitigating some of these is to not invest heavily on day one. Typically, large capital investment projects you'd have planned for 5-10 years. We can't do that anymore because there's too many unknowns. Even 2 to 3 years sometimes is considered a risk if you don't know what growth you're on, or if you're even going to grow at all. Or maybe there's a market change, you need to change your SKU profile. If you can make a decision based on knowing what the next 18 months is, fantastic. So build or change something that gets you over those 18-month period with a system that you know that you can scale extremely quickly if and when the time comes. So by that way, then you're setting yourself up to basically take advantage of what you do know, but then also give yourself the ability to flex in a direction or scale once you know what the next 2 years afterwards are going to look like. That's a way of de-risking these decisions, but also getting you to actually take advantage of what you do know today so you can plan for your return on investment over your shorter time period, go for it, get involved in it, actually get the return in a quicker time period, and then go again. We see quite a lot of projects that are stopped or delayed because of wanting to plan for 5 years. All that really does is delay the decision, and it delays the return on investment. Because while you're not almost committing, the time you're taking now is actually losing your money effectively. It's the cost of not doing it is a problem.
Are there increased costs though in that? So if I scale plan for 2 years,
Yeah.
and then I say, Russ, we're doing well. 2 years down the line, we want to come again and do some more. Is that an increased cost for me to do that, or are you saying to me that the costs are lower because of the built-in scale that's available to me?
So what we would typically say, if you, with whatever system you put in place, AutoStore as an example, if you only built a defined piece for that 2 year period with no plan to expand it or the option to expand it, right, you're going to perhaps cause yourself a bottleneck. So whatever you put in place, I would recommend having that 5 to 10 year vision. So whatever you put in on day one is built in a way with systems in place and integrations in place in a way that enable you to go fast afterwards. So set the system in a shape or manner that will allow you to make that quick decision. AutoStore is fantastic at being able to do that due to the flexibility of the system and the way it can be integrated. We have many applications that do go live in this manner now, where we will actually say build the grid part of it for maybe 4 years, knowing you're only going to use half of it for the first 2 years, right, but you have the grid in place because that's the most invasive part of the mechanical structure. But we also know that once the grid's in, it's half an hour to induct a new robot. So if I know maybe even in 6 months' time that I've suddenly had an uptick or I need to go quickly for the next peak, and I made that decision, yes, I'm going to carry that growth forwards. Oh, I need 10 new robots. I can get them on the grid within a day. There's no mechanical requirement on the ground floor. You use the maintenance decks to pull things in, and suddenly I've got that uplift of 200 to 300 lines an hour.
So scalability is a real benefit of the system. I mean, do you find that most of your clients are without any form of automation beyond the basis, or are they clients with existing legacy systems that you work around, or are you growing more existing AutoStore clients who then stay with you?
It is a mixture. I would have said a few years ago the vast majority were the switch from manual to automated, and that's where we talk about AutoStore's system up to the last couple of years. It was spare parts or the medium moving e-com businesses.
Yeah.
That's where you go from manual to automation, and AutoStore fits that. It's fast to deploy, easy to understand, easy to integrate. But we have certainly in the last few years, since the router upgrades in the software, and then the even newer stuff that's due in Q3 this year, the Cubeverse we now talk about.
We're going to come on to that.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Where AutoStore is being deployed in systems where we have in excess of 40,000, 46,000 lines an hour. not just 10,000, 46,000 lines an hour being produced. Now, these systems are going into large-scale end users, multi-billion-dollar operations, where the sites are multi-tech, multi-automation, hybrid facilities. You may have an AutoStore working in tandem with sortation systems, whether they're pouches, whether they're conveyor driven. There may be shuttles downstream, upstream, mini loads in the facility, pouch sorts. It's a whole hybrid warehouse. An AutoStore sits at the heart of that as the engine, that picking engine that gives you the horsepower to create that. That's a big transition. But we're seeing many more projects like that now. And it comes back to the fact that we can do it in a smaller space. We can do it in a phased manner and scale with these sites because they are multi-year rollouts. And it works. The whole point we made about at the beginning, we were in-house for 7 years. A lot of the issues were ironed out in that time period, which is why the system is so modular and easy to maintain. We're doing it for our own purposes. And it carries that a system that's 10,000 bins with 10 robots has a 99.8% uptime. Well, so does the one that's doing 46,000 lines an hour that's got 1,000 robots, because of that in-house time we spent.
Let's what's the phrase they say? Take the camera back a bit. And automation itself. You were telling me earlier that asking the question, what does an automated system look like? What you might see on your head towards what it actually is. That's kind of quite an interesting question. Could you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, we're facing a market, especially buyer personas, that are a lot more educated in terms of what they're looking for and what they want. They know their own business fantastically, but there's not more sources of information they'll go to before they outreach to us or the other options they have. I typed into chat GPT the other day, what does an automated warehouse look like? And it didn't show me a shuttle, it didn't show me an AutoStore, there was no mini load. It was a real, what I would say, an older school looking or heavily manual warehouse where you had wide aisle racking,
right,
pallets.
So like 15 years ago or
something that was what we were talking about a second ago, maybe that manual site. There was some conveyors up front, but then it in its own way, it integrated piece picking arms into this facility.
Yeah.
So it hadn't done that middle ground of, you need to automate some of the high repeatable, simple stuff first before you start playing with the automatic picking.
Yeah, so it's astonishing. So do you find that when you meet new customers, there is an education that you have to...
Absolutely. We have to remember that when we go to an end user, whoever they are, they're experts in their business. Now, their business is retail or it's industrial parts. Yeah. It's making a car. It's facilitating me, you, getting something off their website and buying that new T-shirt, that new shirt, that new suit you're going to go out the weekend, new pair of shoes. They're experts at that. So we shouldn't ever expect them to be all-knowing about the automation. And why would they? One step further than that, they understand their warehouse and how that works. But again, that's their operation. So it's on us really to go and understand how their operations work, really get to grips with, okay, why are they doing it, what challenges they're facing, and what they want to solve to help them serve their customers better.
Do you find that customers are surprised or, surprised, I suppose, when you show them the numbers that you can achieve with an AutoStore compared to what they currently are doing?
A lot of the time, yes, but I think there's been enough almost noise about AutoStore now. It's almost like, okay, what can it do?
Okay, yeah. Disappointed.
Okay, great, it can do it. We usually get that surprise effect when we show them how easy it is to design
only
something.
46,000 you can do.
And again, yeah, exactly. And we have had questions over the last few years about, can you mix bins within the grid? Are you going to do robotic piece picking? When are these things coming? Can you lease a system? Is it just CapEx? We've gone on, we've taken that on board and actually developed systems now where we can mix the bins in the system. We were at Logimat a few weeks ago and we had a demo on the stand. It had 5 bin types inside of it. We couldn't have done that a few years ago. So that's answered that question. Yeah. On that same rig, we were taking in cartons, automatic carton handling, not just each picking anymore. And there was a robotic arm on the other side of it, robotic piece picking. So we have taken information from these end users, these asks we've been getting, and deployed them now into a complete solution. And again, on top of that, we do have an as-a-service model. So it's not just CapEx. So
I was going to come back to that. So you will do it.
We can do that, yes. Yeah. It's through certain partners, because obviously we have a partner model.
Yeah.
It's all through those guys. But we do listen. Like I said, we have gone to these end users. We do talk to the end users, take all that information, and we're developing these solutions now to solve end user problems, to make their lives easier.
Let's come back to AutoStore directly in terms of new products and your own innovation. And you mentioned earlier in your introduction, you said that there's a kind of perception shift. We think of AutoStore historically as the cube system.
Yep.
And you're saying that's changing now. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, you're dead right. I think a few years ago we would have been the cute little cube in the corner, the space saver. That was even our own logo for a while, the space savers.
Yeah.
And the square picture we had on all the logos, and there was one port and a few robots, and isn't that neat and lovely? That's perfect, and it still runs like that for a vertical. The great thing there is, though, we've turned this small cube, and those small cubes, by the way, can still scale up. You can still use the same technology and have it 1 million bins and 2,000 robots. It's the same stuff. It's just at scale. Our own approach has changed. Like we said, the software that runs these systems is vastly evolved now. The new Cubeverse that's been released with our Cube Control will use existing data on a live system and modify the routes of the robots dynamically and give them highways. So we'll actually see upticks of 7, 8, 9% in some instances on existing sites of throughput.
Because previously the robots were on fixed?
Exactly. The first iteration, the robots worked on basically a fixed route. They were given a task, they would collect the bin. I know I have to go 25 bins that way and 5 that way, and that's the route I'm going to take across the grid. Anything comes across my path, they have to stop or I have to stop.
Yeah, so what we're saying is that the robot can now make a decision in the middle of the journey, if so.
Yeah, so the control system that's telling the robots what to do makes decisions almost. Well, the router system in between this was doing dynamic routing, so it worked like a sat-nav system. If there's traffic, I'll go around it.
Right.
And that was 3 or 4 years ago now, maybe 5 years ago. The more recent iteration this year, the Cube Control system takes the router platform, where it is dynamic routing, and sets highways on the grid. So the robots know there's never going to be anything there, and if there is, it gets out of the way. So that way, on especially the larger systems, where you do have large transfer areas or distances to travel, because the grids are fundamentally larger, they know they have a motorway they can use. So we're using that on top of router to obviously go faster.
And that can be, and the Cubeverse, if I've got an existing AutoStore, which I've had for, I'm very pleased with 5-10 years, whatever, you can just adopt the new software and the robots will then start to behave dynamically. It's not a case of new robot, new wheels.
It's the same robots, same hardware, everything. It's through we have a license. All this runs through the partners. So yes, we can deploy the new software on existing sites.
And I think you said 8-9% uplift.
So, in throughput, the big one on this, we saw a simulation 2 days ago. In fact, on a site that is live, the throughput was already at 26,500 lines an hour. We ran a simulation, and it suggested it would go to nearly 29,000 with the same robots and the same ports. The big one here is there's always a question around, how long do I wait for the bin when I'm stood there? I press the button. How long to the next bin? This site was running at about 2.6 seconds. We ran the control AI piece over it. It reduced it to 1.8. So it was a 30% reduction in the wait time. That's huge in terms of...
1.8 seconds between
bins. It was 2.6, now it was 1.8. So your operator is suddenly 30% more productive, just with a software update that comes through your license. That would have been several million in hardware if we'd have done it the old way.
Yeah, sure. You mentioned partners earlier.
Yes.
Just talk a bit about your partners. Who do you work with? And also, if I'm a potential new client who wants to consider an AutoStore, who would I come to? Would I come to you or one of the partners? Or both?
You could do both if you wanted. There's nothing to stop any end user talking directly to our partner network. We'll encourage it, in fact. Ultimately, they are the supplier. They're the ones that you're going to be married to effectively for the 15, 20-year time span, 30-year time span in some instances of these projects.
Is that because you just see yourselves primarily as an OEM, that you're not there to do the supplying and the dealing with? It's
a bit back to what I was talking about earlier. We're the experts in AutoStore. We know how the robots work. We know how to manufacture the robots, for one. So that's what we're good at. We're an OEM at core. However, we are fundamentally customer focused. We have a whole account management team in the UK, and globally, but I have the UK one, where we will go and talk to end users. Like I said earlier, we have to understand what the needs are, what the projects even look like, why are they doing it, what problems are they solving, so we can then generate these early concepts, because that's how we work. We will go talk to an end user, understand what they're trying to do, what's the 2-3 year plan, and then do some feasibility with them. Does AutoStore even fit here? What can it give them? And come up with a rough idea of what it might look like. But at some point, to make this real, you're dead right, we work through, in the UK, 9 partners now. And each one's brilliant at certain verticals and certain applications, scale, size. They have their own automation products in a lot of instances. We work, and they are partners. Okay, so we share information, we collaborate with them to make the complete solution. So we'll take what we've learnt about the end customer and make a engine, the AutoStore, and we'll make it as lean as possible and as efficient as possible based on that information. We'll collaborate with the partner, and they'll probably make it even leaner based on their software layer that goes over the top of it and other bits of automation that go around the sides to make this hybrid complex solution, and whatever that might look like. We said earlier, is there a mini load, is there a sorter, to make the complete picture. And then we'll go together with the end user as a three-way conversation to make it a reality. But the routine, it is through the partner.
Okay. So would you give any advice now to someone who wants to consider the automation route? What's their next steps?
Call me.
Easy.
The easiest one. Reach out to us. There's offices in Castle Donington. We have a demo system set up. We actually actively ask end users if they want to send us a pallet full of product. We'll put it in the demo, and you can come and pick your own product ahead of schedule, and you see what it looks like. There's nothing like trying it in reality.
Well, that sounds like a great day out, great project. It's been great having you here, Russ, but we can't let you go without our familiar jamboree, namely the crystal ball.
No.
What's next in logistics? We're asking the experts. In our crystal ball segment, industry leaders share their predictions for the future.
You work at one of the great innovators, as it is, but what's coming? What are the trends in the industry coming down the track?
I think we'll certainly see a much higher level of customization requirement in end users. What I mean by that is our end users are obviously customer focused. Our baskets, certainly online over the last few years, vastly different. Returns processes are going to have to be solved at some point. That's a big bugbear on a lot of these e-com fashion companies. So that's probably an area we'll see something crop up in.
Any idea what that might be?
I couldn't tell you.
If you did.
There are systems that will solve it today, but it doesn't take out the whole checking things when they come back in. You have to, I don't know if you've seen a returned T-shirt. It has to be unpacked, has to be checked, has to be cleaned, repackaged before it goes back into an AutoStore. So there's all that to consider. What do we do here? Or how do we limit the returns, for one? Is it less mispick? Maybe that's the error. There's things there to consider. More connected systems, use of AI as well, customer data to drive how the automation looks and behaves. We're using it a bit already with the Cubeverse, using its own knowledge of that site to make it go faster, but interlinking of several sites to make the whole platforms quicker and work together, maybe as a hybrid. We'll certainly see in the automation side more systems that are hybrid. So AutoStore Plus, shuttles being plugged into AutoStore, not competing as much anymore, but being brought together to solve these much larger systems.
Great. Well, on that note, thanks, Russ. If anyone fancies a trip to Castle Donington, Russ is your man. Give him a call. But meanwhile, thanks for coming in, Russ. It's great to meet you. Great to hear about AutoStore and throughput. And thanks also from me, Paul Hamblin, and we'll see you next time on the podcast.
Thanks, Paul.